The Circle Maker, chapter 4. In chapter 4, the author presents us with this idea of praying through. This idea, no matter what situation you find yourself in, your goal is to pray through it. As he continues the chapter, he introduces us into someone named Mother Dabney. Her and her husband have just moved to a new city, and she makes a prayer covenant with God to fast, to pray, and immediately the ministry begins to take off and the city is transformed. As he continues the chapter, he tells us that to be a history maker, you must be willing to pray, because that has the power to change history, to change lives, and where we live. But we tend to forget that fact. And at times, instead of praying through, we pray for. What's the difference, my friends? It's simple. When you pray through, no matter what happens, you're going to continue to pray. You're going to be consistent. You're going to keep looking to God. When you pray for, it's almost like you pick it up and put it down. But the second we start praying, the battle shifts from a natural fight to a supernatural fight. And that's a fight that God always wins. As he continues the chapter, we're presented with a question. So what do we do during the battle? We keep praying. Simple. It seems simple enough, but oftentimes when we're in the battle and we feel like we're losing, we stop praying. We pray with less excitement. We pray with less vigor. But he is saying, you pray through. He then goes on to share a story about how his church is praying for this property. And they prayed for this property, and they denied this property once. They denied this property twice. They denied this property 3 different times. And in the midst of being denied this property, he shifts the focus from not if, because he shares with us that when he reads in Jeremiah about Jericho, you see that it turns the tense to when the walls come down. It's no longer if, it's when. And so he shifts the focus from an if prayer to a when prayer. Friends, when God makes a promise, it's no longer if, it's when. And so God does not move on our time. He moves when he is ready to move. So then you can shift from praying through to praise through. I don't know when it's coming, but God, I know you're going to do it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but God, I know you're going to show up. I don't know. And you go from if God can do it to when God can do it. And he says they make that shift. And as they make that shift, they almost get the contract. And then finally they wait more time and he heads to another country. And in another country, he gets a phone call from his wife. And from praying through, from going from if to when, they get the property. There's another story in the Bible that I'm reminded of. It's in Daniel 10. I'm going to challenge you to read it. But what stands out about Daniel 10 is in is 10 verse 12. It says this, then he continued, this is an angel talking to Daniel. Then he continued, do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. 13 says, but the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief priests, came to help me because I was detained there with the king of Persia. 21 days, Daniel prays through for an answer. It says that the angel was sent by God day 1, and he has to pray 20 more days. Too often we forget that God makes a promise to never leave or forsake us. He makes the promise that he's going to hear us, and so we stop praying through. Kingdom Life, we need to shift our focus from if to win, because that's how God moves. When God makes a promise, it's never if, it's always when. He promises in Isaiah 41:10 that we don't need to fear. He promises in Isaiah 26:8 that if our mind stays on him, he gives us perfect peace. He promises in Romans 8:38 that we're more than conquerors. Promise after promise after promise, which means we pray through, not thinking if, but knowing when. That's the challenge of chapter 4. So I leave you with two questions. What have you stopped praying for? And what promise have you let go because God did not show up on your time? With God, kingdom life, it's never if, it's always when.